All right, guys, so if you remember, it was about a week ago that we covered the story of Assad being overthrown in Syria by rebel forces, largely led by this group known as HTS that I covered in previous videos. But here we have CNN, who were on the ground, Clarissa Ward, reporting on some of the people who were being freed from Assad's prisons inside of Syria. Now, while I don't want to downplay that there were people who were being held in confinement, who were being tortured, who were being subjected to absolutely horrific conditions, in this specific story, we have CNN basically perpetuating a complete and utter hoax where they film themselves going into a cell, freeing a man who claimed to have been held in confinement for months and months and months, deprived of food, deprived of water. And then, as you can see from the headline here, turns out that the guy who they were interacting with in this video is actually a notorious Assad regime torturer. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and watch the video that was released here in a second. But first, let's just read some of the background here from the New York Post. They say, the prisoner that CNN helped to free from a secret facility in Syria was actually a notorious member of Bashar al-Assad's forces known to torture those who refused to pay him off, according to a shocking local fact check. The network went viral last week with footage of a startled prisoner being led from prison by journalist Clarissa Ward, who called it, quote, one of the most extraordinary moments that I have witnessed in her nearly 20 years of reporting, right? Which is one layer of this is that Clarissa Ward is not a rookie, okay? She's been in many similar situations like this in the past. And when we watch through this video in a second, you're going to be shocked as to how anybody ever believed that this was real. Like the second that these videos were circulating online, everybody that I knew, at least in my circles online, were immediately flagging this as pretty suspicious, given the claims that were being made and what was actually being shown on camera. But they continue saying that independent and unbiased fact checkers of Verify Psy published a detailed report on Sunday saying that the seemingly innocent prisoner was actually Salama Mohammed Salama, a first lieutenant in the Syrian Air Force intelligence with a long history of accusations of war crimes. Now, we have CNN acknowledging that this was a hoax here, saying, we have subsequently been investigating his background and are aware that he may have given a false identity. We are continuing our reporting into this and the wider story. This is a still image from the report where you can see Clarissa Ward here of CNN carrying this alleged, prisoner of Assad. Turns out he was actually a torturer for Assad, being led out here looking at the sun. Now, they also say that he gave his name as Adel Gerbal and claimed to have been arrested by government authorities 3 months earlier and said that he had no idea that the Assad regime had collapsed. So Verify Psy noted, however, that he appeared well-groomed, physically healthy, with no visible injuries or signs of torture. Maybe should have set off a red flag there. An incongruous portrayal of someone allegedly held in solitary confinement in the dark for 90 days, which was the claim that was being made. He also did not flinch or blink when gazing up at the sky, despite having said that he had not seen sunlight for 90 days. They say that he is known as Abu Hamza. Salama worked at several security checkpoints in Homs and was involved in theft, extortion, and coercing residents into becoming informants for Assad, according to local residents. He also killed civilians during the Syrian civil war in 2014 and allegedly detained and tortured young men on bogus charges, many of whom refused to pay bribes. And locals claimed that he was locked up in prison, where he was discovered for less than a month due to a dispute with a high-ranking officer over sharing extorted money. And you can see other images here from the video. Now, let's just go ahead and remind ourselves of what this video actually looked like, right? Now,
I can't tell though. It makes me like it.
Again, keep in mind, when this video first came out, basically the only commentary that I saw on it from people responding to this was that this doesn't look right. There's something off about this, right? Let's go ahead and watch the first clip here, and then I have a second one following it.
But it's the only cell that's locked. Is he gonna shoot it?
The guard makes us turn the camera off while he shoots the lock off the cell door.
Mess up?
We go in to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is something under the blanket.
Oh, it moved. Is there someone there? I thought I saw it move. Is someone there? Or is it just a blanket? I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's someone. Hello?
Okay, I just
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian. He tells the fighter he's from the city of Homs and has been in the cell for 3 months.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
He clutches my arm tightly with both hands.
Okay. Does anyone have any water? Water. My. Okay, it's water. It's water. Okay. Okay. Okay, you're okay. You're okay.
All right, so there's a first clip. Let's go ahead and jump into the second one here.
After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky.
انت حر
الله ضوء
انت حر لا
الله ضوء
روح حجي روح
يا الله
هدي اعصابك
My God, the light, he says. Oh God, there is light.
ما ضل
My
لا
God,
سجن
there
ولا
is
نظام
light.
ولا طيران الحمد لله
أخ
روق
Okay.
أخ خليكم معي
You're okay.
Stay with me, stay with me, he repeats again and again.
خليكم معي خليكم معي إلي 3 شهور
For 3 months, I didn't know
ما
anything
بعرف شو
about
يعني
my
ولادي ما
family.
بعرف
He
شو يعني
says.
أهلي
I didn't hear anything about my children.
حيشوفوك هلا حيشوفوك على التلفزيون
ما بعرف شو يعني ولادي والله ما بعرف شو يعني أهلي
حيشوفوك
The fighter hands him something to eat,
لا
barely lift it to his mouth.
اجى ببالك رقم
افتحها مجاهد
أوكي
حط الثاني فوق
But his body can't handle it.
Okay, you're okay.
His captors fled during the fall of Damascus,
على مهلك بسم الله
leaving him with no food or water. That was at least 4 days ago.
شوي اشرب مي
I'm shaking, my face is shaking, he
خلص طمن
says.
ما ضل لا جيش
The rebel tells him there's no more army, no more prisons, no more checkpoints.
تمام
تحكي جد
Are you serious, he says?
الله يلعن أبو
سوريا حرة
Syria
الثوب
harra.
الأخضر
Syria
ما
is
ضل جيش
free,
صار
he
كل
tells
الجيش حر
him.
الحمد لله
It's the first time he has heard those words.
Okay, so again, CNN has now since confirmed the identity of the person who was in this video as an Assad intelligence officer. This is just incredibly fucked up for so many different reasons. Number one being that there were, countless incredible videos of people who were legitimately held prisoner, who were tortured, who were, subjected to the withholding of food and water and medical supplies and everything else. And you have this video here that CNN, somehow it passed through multiple levels of producers, of their, executives, and of the personalities on air who decided to allow this segment to run. And there were no red flags during any of this, that this was potentially a complete fucking hoax and that this guy was not actually one of those prisoners. So just incredibly fucked up from whatever angle you want to look at this. And I'm not even saying that Clarissa Ward was like in on this and this was an intentional staged hoaxed event and she coached this guy before she went into the cell or whatever. I don't even think that's the case. But it's just like, I guess, an incredible level of, naivete, I guess you would say. I mean, how else do you describe this? Because the instant that this segment was published, people were immediately raising red flags about it. Okay, you have somebody who's claiming that they were in prison for 3 months. They're saying that they haven't had food or water for 4 days, and they're coming out looking like this guy did. If you haven't seen sunlight for 3 months, you're not going to walk outside and immediately look directly up at the sky, right? Not to mention that people were also pointing out, the sort of manicured state that he's in, that he doesn't look like he's been subjected to any signs of torture. There's just there's so many different levels to this that are bizarre and fucked up and twisted in a certain way. And I guess at the end of the day, it kind of gets down to an incredible embarrassment here, a humiliation for Clarissa Ward individually as a journalist who is supposed to be reporting on these things in an independent way. There's other, conversations and reporting about how she's previously called herself an activist when it comes to the issue of Syria. And, this is just humiliating. That's all that you can say about it. It's just humiliating. And this gets to the core of why people are fleeing mainstream media outlets, is because without even flinching, you run a segment like this where you're pretending as if you're doing this heroic act of freeing somebody who's been held in captivity. They've been tortured. They haven't had food or water or seen sunlight or seen their family. And it turns out it's just a complete fucking hoax. It's just complete bullshit. And I don't know who's responsible for this. I don't know if it's, the rebel forces who took over and thought that this guy would be a useful sort of like piece for propaganda, for Western media, or whatever the case may be. But all around, genuine humiliation. And again, sort of like cuts through as to why people are trusting mainstream media less and less as we continue to go on.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying